Hello and welcome back to The Vegan Runner. Today we're taking a closer look at a trail shoe from Salomon, the S-Lab Ultra Free. Okay, so before we begin this review, this is a shoe I've bought with my own money. You'll be shocked to learn that I'm still not a sponsored athlete, so my thoughts and opinions on this shoe are my own, and no one is paying me to make this review. Right, so the Salomon S-Lab Ultra Free. As the name suggests, it's a trail shoe with ultra and endurance runners in mind, and it's designed for long distance performance and comfort. And if you read the marketing from Salomon, you'll see that they're boasting of a lightweight shoe with a durable, water-repellent, breathable mesh upper, cushioning for maximum bounce, and an anti-debris sock-like collar. A contra-grip outsole is supposed to provide traction across mixed terrain and in wet and slippery conditions. The heel stack height is 26.8 millimeters, whilst the forefoot height is 18.2 millimeters, giving the shoe a drop of 8.6 millimeters. The maximum lug depth is just 4 millimeters, and we also have a quick lace system, and in my size, which is UK 7.5, it weighs 277 grams. So this is my first impressions review at the time of recording. I've put around about 100 miles in these shoes on a good mixture of terrain types, from compact gravel to slick mud and even some tarmac to see how they handle the roads. I've also tried the shoe out on a range of workout types, so long runs of more than 10 miles, speed sessions, and even an all-out 5k effort. So I feel like I've got a pretty solid handle on these shoes, enough experience anyway at least, to offer my views on how it's performing and holding up so far. We'll start with the fit first of all. So Salomon are calling this their precise fit, and frankly I'd agree with their terminology here. The lacing system is surprisingly adjustable, and it's quite easy to get a secure and tight fit, or sometimes you can loosen the laces for a slightly more comfortable ride over those longer distances. The anti-debris collar does a great job of keeping sticks, stones and dirt out of the shoe, and I like the way it feels around the ankle. It's a very sock-like feel, and it feels like really natural. So the fit is great. If you have wide feet, definitely try on a pair before you buy them. Salomon S-Lab shoes do tend to run a little on the narrow side in my experience, and this one is no exception. My only drawback with the fit is getting the shoe on in the first place. It's a bit of a faff. It's definitely not a shoe that you can just slide into from a standing position. You really have to get down and force your foot into the shoe. This does concern me a little, particularly if you're running an ultra and you need to take them off at an aid station or something for treatment. It's not going to be the easiest process getting them back on again. Other than that though, the fit is really lovely, it's well dialed in, and your foot feels really secure. Now then, I've always been a fan of Salomon's quick lace system, ever since my first pair of trail shoes, the Salomon Speedcross Free. They're so quick and easy to lace up. I don't know why the whole industry really hasn't moved more in this direction towards this lacing system yet. But other than the speed of lacing up, what I really love about it though is, and this is something else that you see on Salomon shoes, is this little lace pocket at the front on the tongue here, and that's to tuck away any excess lace after tightening. It's a really elegant and minimalist solution to stop laces flapping around and coming undone. I love it, except in the case of this shoe where the lace pocket is quite tight. It's quite difficult to access. It's a really kind of tight pocket, and as you tighten the laces down, it often clamps onto that pocket. You can kind of see the front laces there. That clamps down on the pocket, and then you've got to kind of adjust that to tuck them away inside this tight pocket. It's not a massive deal, but the lace pocket on the Speedcross series is just a lot easier to use. Even in Sensoride 2 as well, it's just really easy to tuck away on those pockets. But on this one, it's just a bit tight, and again, it's just a bit more faff on a shoe that I think should technically be well dialed into all of these things. So that leads me onto the upper, which again fits nicely. It does feel pretty durable. It has this kind of tough nylon micro weave for most of the upper on the shoe, and there's a bit of like what they called the plastic kind of wrappings and like the overlays for a bit of toe protection, and a little bit on the side here as well. I really like the feel of the padded and fully gusseted tongue. It feels great against your upper foot and adds to that snug, precise feel. As for its water repellency, I can't say I noticed it repelling water. My feet have still got wet when running through puddles and stuff like that, but what I will say is that they drain really well when you're running in wet conditions and remain lightweight, which is just fantastic. Onto the midsole then, which I'd say is somewhere in the middle between minimalist and maximalist cushioning. It's quite a firm ride, but it's comfortable, and the shoe is pretty flexible. You can kind of see how it's kind of twisting. It's not the most flexible of shoes, but certainly not the stiffest either. So it's pretty flexible through the midsole, giving you good ground feel whilst offering a bit of protection from sharp rocks and stones. Now, the marketing states that the cushioning provides maximum bounce. I don't really get that. I don't feel like I'm bouncing along when running in these shoes, but I would say that they are really comfortable. They're a supportive ride. They're just not all that kind of poppy and bouncy. Onto the outsole then, which is Salomon's Contra Grip pattern and with relatively short 4mm lugs. They look like a shoe that is built for mixed terrain, and they live up to their look. In my test, they perform best on compact gravel, short grass, or well-established bridle paths. As with a lot of Contra Grip shoes, they really inspire confidence on those terrain types, and I had no issues flying downhill and really opening up. The only terrain it really struggled on was whilst climbing very steep, slick, muddy hills. Typically when you're running on your tiptoes, looking at the shoe, I'd put that down to a lack of deep lugs near the toe. Typically on more aggressively lugged shoes, you have more prominent lugs on the toe cap, and the lack of these on the Ultra 3 were noticeable when going up those very steep hills. Now, I guess typically in an ultra race, you'd be hiking those very steep hills, so perhaps that's why they chose not to include those lugs, but if you're going to be buying these shoes for more general trail running, you might want to bear this in mind. Now, I bought this shoe for a few reasons. I wanted a shoe that was lightweight enough to race in or do some speed work sessions in. I wanted a shoe that I could take on long runs and on coastal paths and on those summer trails, but also with a slightly longer term view of racing some ultras next year. So I'm getting in my market research, and we'll spend the next 6 months or so trying out a few different trail shoes aimed at the ultra running market. That reminds me, I'd really appreciate it if you can make a recommendation down in the comment section below on a pair of trail shoes that I should be looking at for ultra races next year. But back to the Ultra 3s, this shoe has stood up very well for what I've needed it for. I've run all-out zone 5 intervals in these shoes, as well as raced a 5k in very wet and slippery conditions. I've also run longer, slower efforts as well, and the Ultra 3 has performed excellently in all of these scenarios. Other than the extra effort needed to get the shoe on and the tight lace pocket, I really can't fault it. It's lightweight, the grip inspires confidence on most terrain, the midsole is responsive and comfortable without losing connection to the trail. The quick lacing system performs well, and I think it's going to take a fair bit of punishment over the next few months of trail running, easily going beyond 300 miles, maybe even 500 before needing to be replaced. Now, the S-Lab range is Salomon's premium range of activewear and shoes, and the price tag of £160 reflects that, I think, for these shoes, though I have seen them on some sites for around £140. For what you're getting at £160, I think the price is leaning on the expensive side. If you can get them for £140, I think that's more reasonable. I definitely recommend the shoe if you're in the market, but also check out the Sensoride 3 as well as the Ultra Glide shoes by Salomon, as they share many similarities and come in a little bit cheaper. Right, that wraps up this review. Let me know down in the comment section below if you have any questions, and also let me know which trail shoes you've been enjoying this summer. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, be the best you.